Good evening, my beautifuls. How are you? Tonight I'm going to do a little bit more of a vulnerable share here about relationships and a couple of breakthroughs I've had about why I push people away sometimes. Now, before I go to bed, I do my spiritual hygiene, and then I dedicate the night to my higher self, God and the universe, and ask that they guide me and move my lips and footsteps and direction all the time, at night and in the morning. And this way at night I do some significant healing in my dream time, and I can really align with the divine part of myself, the higher divine part of myself. And I find this to be incredibly helpful. I do this in the morning, in the evening, and in the middle of the day. Last night I was in bed and I was thinking about different things. I, of course, back when I was wild and before I've done any healing, I had major issues with relationships, abandonment. I've had people mostly abandon me through leaving this world, and that's been a very tough pill for me to swallow. There's been both voluntary and involuntary abandonments. And I remember even when, before too much pain was inflicted on me, my ego would have me break up with someone or stop hanging out with someone before they got a chance to do it first. Anytime that I felt that starting to happen, I would break it. And I used to brag in my high school and college years that I've never been dumped, but that's only because I would do the dumping pretty fast. And so this brings me to one of the reasons I would push people away with destructive behaviors, and being bitchy for all intents and purposes, being overbearing, being controlling, my way or the highway, all or nothing, that kind of thing. It was this sick way of trying to push people away, and this goes not just for romantic relationships, but also for friendships. And so the first reason is so I could keep the control and not be abandoned. Instead, I would become the abandoner. And this way things stay in my control, because if it's in my control, then it's okay, right? Now, the version of me then would do major destructive behavior and major drugs, violence, acting out sexually. Today, it's more just being unavailable, maybe being a little bitchy, overbearing, that kind of thing. Keeping a distance, like closing up and being cold and just very, I gotta go by, that kind of thing. The other reason is because I did have this wild streak for a long time that took me, it actually it went from wild streak to down and out streak. And through that, I have lost a lot of friends, again, to the other side. Some people went to rehab or had to move, or sometimes I would just say something and it would hurt someone too much and they would not want to talk to me anymore. And so it occurred to me through this interaction at night with my higher self, well, nowadays I push people away because I feel like I'm not good enough for them, because I feel like I'm gonna hurt them somehow, or that I'm gonna impact them in a negative way somehow. And now, not all of myself feels this way, but a little part of myself still does. And so it'll manifest me again in today being making myself so busy I don't have time for connections. And that's tough for me because I'm playing a lot of catch up anyway and trying to get something built. But at the same time, I know that relationships are important. I told myself for a while that I just have to focus on my mission. And I was, even before I met Kelly, I was that focused where I didn't even want a relationship. I didn't even want a romantic partner because I felt like I had to focus. But then the question comes, did I really have to focus that much? Maybe at times I did, but I think there's also a level of taking it to an extreme in order to prevent myself from getting hurt, or prevent myself from hurting someone else, which in turn would hurt me, if that makes sense. Has anybody else out there experienced that or felt that way? And this all boils down to a third aspect that is hand in hand with these two, and that's unworthiness. Feeling like, well, I can't be that person. I can't be a good friend. Even now, I can counsel people, like clients, all day, but when it comes down to, and I could hold space for friends just fine, but when it starts to become like a relied upon thing outside of that, outside of something that would go on my calendar that I could regiment and anticipate that there is a beginning and an ending and stuff like that, and know exactly what's expected of me. It's very structured. I know exactly what's expected of me. I have a very good idea what to expect. In those kinds of situations, I can use my psychic senses. With my friends, I do not use my psychic senses because that is, it infringes on their privacy, and you don't do that in your day-to-day life. And so I create all this stuff around me, and this stuff is stuff that I need, but I could prioritize some of it out to wait for later so I could make room for the other parts of life. And I told myself that, look, I have to, for a while, I need to focus on all of this stuff that's really important. I don't have time to have fun. I don't have time for friends. For a long time, I didn't have time for a relationship either. But you know what? The way we interact with one another and the partnerships and friendships that we build, it's such an important part of our evolution. Even, especially when there's pain, especially when there's disappointment, especially when you're triggered, especially when you trigger someone else. Those are all very valuable experiences that teach you so much. And I realize that I avoid this a lot. I'm very comfortable being on my own. I'm very comfortable being with myself. I'm very good at dissociating. I astral project very easily, and I have a very strong connection to spirit, and that's one type of alignment. That's a vertical alignment, and that's very strong for me. My horizontal alignment, which is where I relate to other incarnated beings, that could use some work. That could use some work. And I even experienced that when I start to get deeper with someone as a friend, I pull back a little bit because I'm like, I'm gonna mess this up somehow. But I feel like these realizations have really, they've let something go. They've released something, they've purified something. And I know that in purifying and releasing and intending that I'm guided to do whatever is most expansive to help me reach my highest potential. I know that as long as I keep following that, I'll end up with the experiences and encounters and the appropriate receptivity to be able to participate in them more fully. And hopefully I will start having friendships and relationships and partnerships without weirdness and reservations and fear of abandonment or hurting someone or having myself hurt. And again, this was a very vulnerable share for me. And has anybody else experienced these issues or similar breakthroughs, similar issues or anything like that? Want to comment? If you want to reach me privately, I would love to go and have a dialogue about that or a chat. And this has been very helpful to me, and I hope this is helpful to others as well. And again, this is a little uncomfortable for me, but I'm gonna post this anyway, and I'm sending you guys a lot of love, and I hope you get something from this, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful evening, day, afternoon, whatever it is where you're at right now. All right, take care.